There we go. Okay, it is now 5:01 and I call this special Planning Commission meeting to order. If we could please have the temporary procedures read.
The San Benito County Planning Commission welcomes your comments. Each individual speaker will be limited to a presentation total of 3 minutes. When addressing the commission via Zoom, phone, or in the chambers, please state your name and county in which you reside for the record. Please address the commission as a whole through the chair. If participating on Zoom, select the Participants tab and click the Raise Hand icon. If you are using a phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. When your turn arrives, you will hear you have been unmuted. If participating in person, please complete a speaker card identifying the item on which you wish to speak, and provide your completed card to the clerk prior to consideration. Speaker cards are available on the table at the entrance.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Way, if you could lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could get a roll call, please.
Okay. District number 3, Vice Chair Robert Scagliotti.
Present.
District number 1, Robert J. Rodriguez II is absent. Robert Gibson, District number 4, Chair.
Present.
Richard Wade, District number 2.
Present.
G.W. Devin Pack, District number 5.
Present.
Fantastic. Thank you. Certificate of posting. Can we get an acknowledgement of certificate of posting, please? So acknowledged. Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Consent agenda. We have a motion on the consent agenda.
I motion.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ooh, a lot of them seconds. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Down to the regular agenda. Item number 1, Resource Management Agency informational presentation on draft EIR for the Lee subdivision.
Hi, good evening, Chair and fellow commissioners and everyone in the chambers. I'm excited to go through a little bit about the Lee subdivision project. I'll be going through kind of what the project components are that we looked at and analyzed, and then the county sub consultant, Rincon, did the EIR for this, and so they'll be going through the presentation on the environmental document that was prepared for the county. And afterwards, we'll open up for any questions to the public that they may have tonight. So thank you so much for being here. So the Lee subdivision project, it's county file number PLN 200051. So regionally, it's located off of Old Ranch Road in the unincorporated county. It's east of the city of Hollister. Access is by Airline 25 and off of Fairview Road. And it's right next to the proposed Fairview Corners subdivision. Currently, the existing surrounding development is vineyards to the north, residences east and south. Again, we got Fairview Corners to the south, Roberts Ranch to the east. It's west of Fairview, Santana Ranch to the north, and then the proposed Gavilan Community College is south. This is a close-up of the proposed subdivision. It includes a project boundary. All of the kind of more darker yellow is where the proposed duets are. The lighter yellow is single family. We got some dark green and light green, and those both represent both the open space and the public park and the proposed street connections. So a little bit about what the proposed project includes. So first, there's an existing on-site residence barn, septic system, leach field. That's all going to be demolished. And then in replace of it would be 141 residential lots. Of those 141 lots, 121 of them are going to be 1- and 2-story single-family detached units. And then 20 of those will be single-family duet units. And 15% or 21 units are designated as the affordable housing component. So 20 of those would be the duets, and then one of those single-family homes would be part of that, make up that 15%. In addition, as part of the affordable housing plan, on 25 of the 121 lots, there will also be built 25 ADUs by the builder to include as an optional feature for future homeowners and additional housing stock. And then again, as there's going to be 1.9 acre public neighborhood park, 0.5 acre passive open space that we saw on the last slide, and roadways, and of course improvements to Old Ranch Road, the connection from Fairview. So the utilities proposed for the project, the water will be Sunny Slope County Water District, and as part of the EIR that was circulated, there are 2 wastewater options. One would be, option 1 is to connect to Sunny Slope County Water District. It would include some off-site improvements required along Fairview Road and in Ridgemark Golf Course area from the project site to Sunny Slope's main lift station. It would include wastewater treated at Ridgemark Wastewater Treatment Plant. It would, have to look at capacity and everything and improvements there to, include. Option 2 would be connecting to the city of Hollister. So Sunny Slope contracts with the city to convey and treat the wastewater system. There is a manhole currently on Fairview and Old Ranch intersection, and the wastewater treated at the Hollister Water Reclamation Facility. Stormwater on-site conveyance to on-site detention basin below the proposed park and discharge into off-site drainage. So this again just shows a proposed on-site water infrastructure connections, and they would be through the street system. There's also proposed a non-potable water main that would connect to the park. The proposed wastewater infrastructure point of connection at Fairview Road is related to wastewater option 1. And that was where the manhole was there on Fairview and Old Ranch corner. And then wastewater 2 requires additional off-site improvements, which are not shown as part of this. The wastewater lift station is that orange square located where we had talked about the public park, and it would be underground. So this is depicting the on-site stormwater infrastructure that would be part of it, and the stormwater system that's underground at the park. So land use and zoning, currently it's the general plan designated residential mixed with the zoning of rural. So the general plan, there's no change needed, but the zoning would be upzoning to RM. It has a minimum of 8 units per acre with a PUD combining district overlay. And so some of the objectives for the project: create an environmentally sound community, reduce the pressure of residential development on prime farmlands, and farmlands of statewide importance, provide balanced approach to land use, accommodates future growth, protects community assets, looks at affordability requirements, protecting resources, and it does provide a good mix of residential housing types and affordability, various household size, unit types, income levels. As we had described, it includes not just single family detached, but it also includes duets, and it does also include those ADUs on there as well. And then it does provide for a mixed income community, including the deed restricted affordable housing of the duets. It does provide efficient development standards in combination with respecting environmental hazards, circulation network. Again, that circulation network will connect not just to Fairview Corners, but down to not just to off of Old Ranch Road and Fairview Road, but also to Fairview Corners to the south. And so it would connect the two subdivision to provide secondary access. And again, improves Old Ranch Road, convenient on-street pedestrian facilities, sidewalk trail network. And again, one of the things about this project, that passive open space also connects to Fairview Corners open space and green space of that subdivision. So it was not just looked at, on-site park space, but how to connect and create larger park space with the surrounding already approved development. And continuing on, cohesive integrated land uses and infrastructure, park facilities, both formal and informal. And one of the neat things about the park proposal that'll be coming is that it's not, our code only requires that you dedicate land, and this, the developer is actually going to do the park improvements and put in a park. And so we're not just going to have land that the county has to come up with fees to, develop that park, but it will be improved for that community and surrounding community. And again, that park space, connects to Fairview Corners park space to make an overall greater area. And yeah, non-potable water main, and provides emergency overland stormwater release. And at this point, I was going to turn it over to Elaine Mahoney with Rincon. I believe she's on, and I'll be forwarding her slides.
Thanks, Ariel, and good evening, Commissioners. I'll give an overview of the environmental review process as it relates to the project. Next slide. Environmental review is required by the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. The intent of CEQA is to provide information to decision makers and to the public regarding the environmental impacts of a project, identify ways to mitigate or avoid those impacts, and identify and evaluate alternatives to a proposed project. This slide gives an overview of the environmental review process for an environmental impact report, or EIR. The process begins with the publication of notice of preparation, followed by a public comment period, then publication of a draft EIR, followed by a public comment period. When that period is closed, the lead agency, in this case the county, prepares a final EIR, which includes the responses to comments received on the draft EIR, then publishes the final EIR and makes a decision on the project. For the Lee subdivision project, we are in the final EIR preparation stage. The public comment period on the draft EIR is closed. Next slide. The notice of preparation was published on February 22nd through March 24th of this year, and the draft EIR was circulated from August 26th to October 10th. We anticipate releasing the final EIR November 18th, between November 4th and November 18th. The draft EIR evaluated the following environmental issues in detail in sections 4.1 through 4.9, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, noise, transportation, tribal cultural resources, and utilities and service systems. Section 4.10 of the draft EIR, the effects found not to be significant section, evaluated the remaining environmental issues, which are listed here. Impacts that required mitigation in the EIR included air quality related to toxic air contaminant emissions. Mitigation to reduce construction emissions was included. biological resources related to special status plants and animals, mitigation for pre-construction surveys, a workers' environmental awareness program or WEAP, and avoidance measures were included. Cultural resources related to archaeological resources, mitigation for unanticipated discovery was included. Geology and soils related to paleontological resources, mitigation for paleontological resource monitoring, and mitigation was included. Noise related to construction of wastewater option 1, mitigation for construction noise reductions were included. And transportation related to vehicle miles traveled or VMT, mitigation for VMT reduction strategies were included. And finally, tribal cultural resources, mitigation for unanticipated discovery of such resources was included. The EIR identified one significant and unavoidable impact related to transportation and VMT under both project and cumulative conditions. The threshold we used was 19.6 VMT per capita, which is 15% below the existing VMT of the region. The project would result in 21.3 VMT per capita, therefore an 8% reduction in the generated VMT was needed. Mitigation measure TRA-2 would require fair share payments for the expansion of bus service to serve the project site and the payment of fair share fees toward the planned bikeway on Fairview Road. However, this would only reduce VMT by 1.5%, which does not meet the reduction that was needed, and no additional mitigation was feasible. Therefore, the impact remained significant. The EIR evaluated 3 project alternatives, including the required no project alternative, a reduced density alternative, which would develop 106 residential lots, reducing the proposed density by approximately 25%, and a higher density alternative, which would develop 212 residential lots and have a greater number of affordable units. Common comments and issues identified that will be addressed in the final EIR include offsite improvements related to wastewater option 1, traffic safety, including potential improvements to the Old Ranch Road and Fairview Road intersection, increased traffic congestion, water supply availability, and impacts to local schools. The next steps for the project are shown on this slide. Today, there's no action required as this is an informational workshop. Our next step is to publish the final EIR and complete the CEQA findings and statement of overriding considerations as required by the CEQA guidelines. This is anticipated to occur between November 4th and 18th. Following that, this project will come back to the Planning Commission to certify the EIR and recommend the project for approval to the Board of Supervisors. And we anticipate that happening between November 16th and 30th. Then it will go to the board for final approval. And that's anticipated to occur in December. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for taking the time to hear from us today.
Is there any public comment?
Yes, Jeffrey?
Thank you very much. Jeffrey Small, Capital Public Finance Group. I'm here representing Dr. Sean Tannenbaum, who could not be here today, of the San Benito High School District. Dr. Tannenbaum asked me to come today and provide some comments to you. The district is required to accommodate students from new residential development, even though Hollister High School is over capacity. To prevent an educational crisis from overcrowding, a second high school must be constructed. We estimate that developer fees will only cover 11% of the cost of a new high school. Additional funding is necessary to avert not only an educational crisis, but also a community crisis. We are in discussions with the applicant. However, no agreements have been agreed to at this time between the district and the applicant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any public comment in the chambers? Mr. Betancourt's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, Richard Betancourt, 4140 Southside Road. Ariel, does the applicant know that they're creating an island? And if not so, Can you explain that to me and the applicant? That's the first thing I seen was that they're creating an island, and when it comes to LAFCO, maybe they don't have to come to LAFCO, but if it did come to LAFCO, they're creating an island.
Yeah.
To the chair, perhaps I can address that question. The project is in the unincorporated county. A county island is a unincorporated area that would be surrounded by an incorporated city. That's not the case here. There is a question about what will be the service provider for wastewater treatment, and that it's proposed in several different options to be the Sunnyside County Water District. And the Sunny Slope Water District would have to apply to LAFCO for a urban services review to change its service area for wastewater treatment, whether it's being provided through a connection to the city of Hollister or being treated at the Ridgemark wastewater treatment plant by Sunnyside. Even though Sunny Slope, sorry, I keep saying Sunnyside, even though Sunny Slope is the water purveyor for this area, they have not been approved to provide wastewater treatment service in this area at this time. And there are a number of different proposals which have not been resolved yet as to what that will be. That would not be a county island. It would be a proposal that gets submitted to LAFCO for approval of a change in service in a part of the area of the Sunny Slope County Water District.
Okay. Following up on that, if LAFCO were to deny the expansion of the service area, what would happen to the project?
We haven't reached the decision on this project, but I assume that a project of this density would require public water and sewer, and if there was none available, that condition of approval for the tentative map could not be satisfied, and the map could expire if that wasn't solved during the life of the map.
Okay. Thank you. Did that answer your question, Mr. Betancourt? Sorta, kinda? Okay. Is there any other public comment in the chambers?
Mr. Lee.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm the project applicant. I've lived at the site for, 18 years now. With regard to wastewater, we are in the Hollister Urban Area Wastewater Management area, which is supposed to go to the city plant. The city did issue us the already approved Dividend Homes project next door in Gatlin College letters saying that they would serve the sewer. There's been some political scuffle at the city. The city has never actually said that they will affirm they're going to serve it, nor have they denied that they will serve it. At the October 3rd City Council meeting, the City Council gave direction to the city manager to negotiate a contract with Sunny Slope Water for a contract for sewer and then bring it back to the City Council, and that's where that sits right now. So we are working to get that resolved. Obviously, without sewer, the project can't be built. But I want to address you guys real quick just to kind of give you an idea of the vision that I have for the project and how this all started. I started on this project back in 2006, and obviously the political winds have changed many times over the years. And not all projects are good projects, and I realize that. But what I've tried to create here is homes that will house our native sons and daughters. These are not 3,000 square foot mega mansions. These homes are closer to 2,000 square feet. There's many that are well under, and they're really designed to be more affordable than what we've been building for the last number of decades as far as our fair market housing. Of course, we're doing our 15% affordable housing. That's the requirement. That's, sold below cost and subsidized. But in addition to that, we're doing the minimum of 25 ADUs additional, and we don't get credit for that, but we're doing it because we realize that small units bring value to the community. We're also doing a lot of other things. Ariel touched on the park, and we're going to build it out, so we're going way beyond what we're required to do. I know water's an issue. We're plumbing purple pipe or recycled water to all the lots, not just the park, which eventually, and actually our plumbing will connect across the street to the whale park. So when water gets to the whale park, all these homes will be able to be served by recycled water, or if it comes over to Ridgemark, which is probably inevitable. We are the secondary access for the Gavilan College project. Without the connectivity through us, neither Gavilan nor the approved dividend homes has a secondary access, and they only have one way in and out, no emergency vehicle access. We are negotiating, as Mr. Small said, with the high school. I think we're getting close. That the negotiations have only started as of recent, but we are trying to be the very first one to give them some additional money and set a precedent for the others in the community, because we recognize that a new high school is badly needed and is terribly underfunded. So I wanted to share some of these things with you so that you really kind of understood the vision. And I hope that you'll favorably consider our project when it comes back to you at some point in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there additional public comment in the chambers?
Thank you.
Tiffany Morales.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Morales. I represent Leal Vineyards. We are a local business that reside right alongside this project. There's a few concerns of our own that we have with this housing development being right next door. We have been in here for many, many years, since 2001, and we are an established business. We offer wedding services as well as winery experiences for all of our patrons, as well as bringing a lot of destination brides and grooms to our San Benito County. So with that being said, we have concerns of noise for these upcoming homes. They're right along our property line. We want to be very mindful of that. Also, with respect to the water, we as a winery have been having to rip out our vines year over year because we are having an issue with feeding our crops. That has been an ongoing issue. Every year we get a notice saying that we have to ration our water. That natively impacts our cultural that we have out in our vineyards. We have over 55 acres within our portfolio. They're at Leal Vineyards off of Maranatha Drive. And unfortunately, we probably are going to be looking to pull out some more vineyards, unfortunately. So with that being said, I just want us to be very mindful of this development and what it is going to do to us as a county when it comes to the water. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment in the chambers? Seeing none, is there any public comment via Zoom?
Yes. M. Anderson 2. You can unmute yourself.
Good evening. This is Mary Anderson, and the project is on my fence line. And I've been, watching the development and sending in information. I am not in agreement to this plan, even though, my neighbor and I, the applicant, are on good terms. But I have livestock. I have, show animals, horses and equine. And my concern is building on top of my fence line without allowing enough space, to prevent any issues with regard to, agricultural property, as far as people, being concerned about either just, noise from animals or flies from animals. I don't think that the project, I think it's overbuilt for that area, for the 5-acre existing homes next door to it. And Old Ranch Road now can barely accommodate, the 4 houses that are sitting on it, the 5 houses that are sitting on it, let alone being a thoroughfare for Gavilan College, as well as a development of that size. I think a development is applicable. I just don't think one to that size is applicable due to the water issues that we do have. So that is my primary concern. And Fairview is becoming, a highway with speeds that are, not conducive to oncoming traffic. So that would also be issues about having additional stoplights, crossings, and that sort of thing. So that's my concern. And thank you for your consideration.
Is there additional public comment via Zoom?
There are no more hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. Back to the commission. Other comments, questions, suggestions from the commission? We'll start at the far left with Commissioner Pack.
Mr. Ellenwood, in regards to the wastewater treatment option 2, of course, I understand that there has been a communication from the city of a willingness to serve, but also there's, a political. At this point, has the discussion been agendaized before the Hollister City Council? Is there an upcoming date for that? Or Mr. Lee, can you speak to that topic?
Yeah, on October 3rd, it was on the agenda, and Drew Lander of Sunny Slope Water requested the council to give direction to the city manager to negotiate a contract with Sunny Slope, where Sunny Slope would essentially be the one providing the sewer service, but then handing it off to the city through their pipes. And what he wants to do is take the failing batch plant at Cielo Vista and the 3 committed projects that when Bill Avera was city manager, he had signed saying that they would take, and Drew Lander had actually signed because Bill Avera had signed, the 3 projects being Gavilan College, Dividend Homes, and this project. So take those 4 and contract. And so they've already had one meeting. I actually talked to Drew Lander this morning, and they're going to have another meeting, I think, on November 9th. And part of what the city manager is kind of dragging his feet on, to be honest, he's waiting for this election to pass so he knows who his bosses are and kind of what their direction is going to be as he finalizes that negotiation. But what was decided on October 3rd was negotiate a contract, bring it back to the council for the council to either approve or deny. And so that's where it sits.
Okay.
Oh, were we gonna just do all the questions and see? I forgot already.
If that's
there's
preferable, Mr. Chair, then
Okay.
if you
So
like.
we want to try a different format for this evening. We will all give our questions and then we'll get responses all at once. So we're a slightly different format. So did you have any other questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay, Commissioner Way?
Yeah, just one issue that kind of concerns me. The high school, the idea of negotiating some additional contribution towards the building of the new high school. I'm encouraged to hear you say that that's an option. Do you think, and this is looking forward into the future, put on your crystal ball, I don't know if you can even comment on it, but is it likely that there will be some sort of news on that before this comes back to the Planning Commission for an actual vote? So I guess that's a question on the table.
Okay. Commissioner Scaliotti, do you have any questions, comments, suggestions, concerns?
I have a couple of concerns. One of my concerns is this project is set back off of Fairview Road. What about those people with the 4 or 5 houses along Fairview Road, along Old Ranch Road? That they're okay with having this big project behind them like this? I don't see anybody here in the gallery to talk for them.
Well, I think the one speaker via Zoom was a neighbor that had horses, and she was concerned about people
that what she
complaining
was?
about livestock, which
Oh, yeah, that's a big concern.
that's an
Yeah.
issue. And there is no buffer, from what I could tell.
The buffer, they're gonna put a 4-lane road through there?
Currently, here, I'll pull up the subdivision map. If you want to pull up to the PowerPoint. Thank you. So yes, currently there are houses that are backing to the property line of 2 of the 4 homes.
Are you able to expand it a little bit, Ariel, please? The slide view.
Oh, here we go. So yes, so here, lots 1 through 7 are on the edge of the northern north.
Are you able to
East
put the
lot.
slideshow, Ariel, so it could be a little bit bigger,
okay,
please?
sorry. From current side, there we go. Oh, sorry. There we
Thank
go. Thank you. So yeah, lots 1 through 7 on the north, and then lots 141, and then through 122 border the south property off of Old Ranch Road.
And then on the north side, is that vineyard?
Yeah, so
So
then
they'll be spraying of
Yes.
chemicals right by the houses? Is that what I'm seeing?
So the sorry, are you talking about lots 8 through 12?
Those numbers are too small for me to read, but I think so.
Okay, so lots 8 through 12 are towards the vineyard. Only lots 11 and 12 really are near the vineyard. 10 through 8 are more towards like their kind of cement parking lot area. And then the rest of the back portion of the property is going to remain undeveloped. So where the vineyards are, most of the development next to the vineyards will remain undeveloped.
Okay. And sorry for having you respond to that, but, okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, one more question. That Old Ranch Road is going to be a secondary access and egress for these other projects that are going to be around this project?
It will be the primary. It will be improved. Currently, Old Ranch Road is owned by the applicant, and access to those 4 parcels. There's easements to that. Old Ranch Road will be improved to county standards by the applicant, and it will be widened.
How many lanes?
One in, one out, I believe.
Sounds awful small.
I have another.
I'm,
And then the secondary access is Street D, which connects to Fairview Corners. When Fairview Corners is built up, they're both each other's secondary access.
So that'd be that much more traffic goes through those people's yards.
No, the main circulation would exit onto Fairview, coming out of Cielo Vista Drive that's the main entrance into Fairview Corners, and so and the most convenient entrance and exit to that subdivision through there, and so it's unlikely that they would travel out. Actually, what's more likely is those in the Lee subdivision would travel south and out through the
Onto
Sierra
Cielo
Vista.
Okay.
yeah,
And one more question.
fire away.
Yeah, one more. At that Old Ranch Road in Fairview, is there going to be another stoplight there? What's going to be there to
What are
control
the-
traffic?
The improvements,
The
what
improvements.
what
What are the improvements
improvements?
going to be to control traffic at Fairview and Old Ranch Road?
Currently, it's not proposed to include a stoplight. As part of it, there was a traffic study done, and that was not one of the.
So within 2 miles, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 places that egress and go on and off of Fairview Road.
Yeah, currently there is a light.
There's a light at Union.
There's also a light entering into Roberts Ranch off of Union, and that is installed and operational at this time. So you have one just north that is stopping traffic and one just south that is stopping traffic.
I mean, one thing to be keeping in mind, assuming a 90% occupant rate of the proposal with an average of 3 persons per household, that's, around a total inhabitation of around 320 people, in the subdivision. That's assuming a 90% tenancy rate, of course. So just to talk a little bit more about the EIRs, the non-mitigable traffic impact. So there's going to be a bicycle pathway. How is that bicycle pathway going to connect with any other bicycle pathways, or does it create a bikeable route to the airline highway shopping area or any other areas like that?
So there's a master bike plan, and so it's connecting to that master bike plan that's been approved through COG, I believe. And then I do, just so you know, I do have Elaine and Megan from Rincon online that can add to anything on the traffic or environmental impacts.
Well, okay. You're done? Okay. I'll fire off my questions, and then we'll try to get to the format that we were trying to get to. It's different, so it's anyway. The ADUs. I keep seeing the ADUs promoted as if they're some sort of affordable benefit, but they are optional, correct? Just like any other lot, or are they actually going to be built?
No, those 25 are going to be built by the developer. There's another 103 lots, I believe, that that will be optional. But 25 will be built by the developer. So, does that make?
Oh, because I've seen optional in parentheses a few places, so it's a little confusing when it says optional. Yet they're optional at any lot according to the state of California. So
the 25 will not be optional; those will be built.
Okay.
And there are lots that have been identified. So there's the striped, the white striped is lot capable of becoming an ADU plan, and then the polka dot is the lot capable of becoming an ADU plan and a single story plan, and then the ones that have, I think it was starred. Oh no, it's not on this map. There's another map that will be presented at Planning Commission that highlights the 25 that are going to be included. So whoever purchased that home will be purchasing a home with an ADU.
and it's not optional.
And those are not optional.
Okay.
But what we did was we included, because there's much more than just 25 lots that can accommodate an ADU. So it'll be something that so lots 26 through 103. That are able to accommodate an ADU would have the buyer could come in and have that option. They could get built at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Just as a point of clarification, of course, the ADUs would not be counting towards our county's RENA goals. Mr. Ellenwood or Ms. Goodspeed, could you speak towards if this project is approved, kind of how it would be helping with our current RENA goals and RENA targets?
Yes. So I'll be bringing a detailed. So at the hack, we did bring it through, I believe you were. At the commission, but essentially their plan, their 15% affordability, they're including the 20 duets, 1 single family home. They include 25 that they're building of the ADUs. They're also in, but seven of the 15 homes would be the 80 to they would be the above moderate, so not necessarily counting towards RENA, but counting towards basically worker housing. So those that are just above that, those limits, and creating a larger portfolio of different housing stock at different affordability levels. In addition, they're also providing a $4,500 deposit, $4,500 against the 141 homes, and that would get put towards down payment assistance to those coming in as well. So it's a packaged affordability plan that includes units that count towards RENA, units that are just outside of RENA, but a larger mix of different housing type stock and income ranges. And that went through HAC. We didn't have a full commission at HAC. There were 2 that voted for and 2 that voted against it. And then it goes through Planning Commission for review, and then it will go to the board. So you'll be seeing it here in the upcoming month, next few weeks, and you can make additional comments or decision at that time. But that's what's being presented.
Okay, so, sorry. Best laid plans of mice and men. I would just like to hear more about the traffic improvements. But I guess if we can go to your question first, because I've already forgotten what it is, but I'm sure staff wrote it down.
I actually had another.
Is it okay if we have
we'd
maybe
like to add
the
one
high school?
more. Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Commissioner Wayne.
I have one more to add. The provision of the recycled water to each lot, do we have a sense of what percentage that will reduce the need for the fresh water to the lots?
I'll probably call on my consultants. I don't have that
Fair enough.
number on the top of my head. Elaine or Megan, if you want to.
Yeah, regarding the recycled water improvement, I believe that is coming from offsite, and hold on, I need to open this up. It's not actually going to be provided to the lots themselves. It would be for future irrigation of the park in the southeastern corner of the project site.
Mr. Lee, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, actually, Eileen, that's not accurate. Originally, we were going to do just for the park, but we are plumbing to every lot as well
For landscaping?
for landscape water. And I don't know the numbers, Eileen, I don't know if you do, because I think that's what the commissioner's asking. I do know the majority of water that a household uses is usually on the landscape as opposed to inside. And it won't have the recycled water day one because the water from the city plant isn't over there yet, but we're putting it in because to try to come back and tear up the streets and put those pipes in later would not be very, very feasible. Up to this point, most projects have only plumbed the parks. And that's where this is going to be different than projects that have gone before because they'll plumb all the lots.
And of course, I also have to observe, though, that the homeowners may feel that since they have the option of the recycled water, there's not much of a need for xeriscapic landscaping, so it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I'm still very encouraged to hear about it. So,
I actually can respond to that particular question. The state has required drought tolerant and landscape. You're not allowed to actually put in turf per the new state regulations, at least on the developer side. Now, if someone, after a house is sold, goes in and puts in turf, we don't have a good regulatory body to address that. But what we do have is the San Benito County Water District has really incentivized eliminating that and for all existing homes that have turf. In addition, with the raising rates of water, it kind of helps regulate that as well.
Okay, thank you.
If it's all right, may I address a couple of the other questions that came up on here? So Commissioner Way, you asked about, what do we have to deal with the high school before this comes to planning commission? I think we both hope that we will. The high school first met with us last December and said, hey, we're gonna have a need. And we've been asking them all along, hey, what do you want, so we could get a negotiation. It was only a few weeks ago that they were actually really ready to start talking numbers. We actually had a meeting yesterday, which was really the first time we got into the weeds on the numbers, and we have another meeting tomorrow. So basically, I'll just share with you, yesterday, it was kind of an offer and a counter offer type situation, and will we be resolved tomorrow? I don't know. I think we both would like to, get there. So hopefully, but obviously until it's done, it's not done. I can't make that guarantee. There were a couple of other questions that were raised by some other commissioners. Commissioner Scagliotti, you raised a question of setbacks and the neighbors, which Ariel partially addressed. If you do look at the project, you'll notice that there's only a few lots that actually border the Leal property, and they actually border the Leal residence other than 2 lots that are near the vineyard. The rest of the project, most of that line is not being developed. And many years ago, actually, Leal on his side of the fence went and put a whole row of trees, and he did that to kind of help insulate his events. Some of you may remember, there was a time years ago, being a neighbor of the project, we had some noise issues when events would go to 1 a.m. And ever since that got resolved, they knock everything off at 10 p.m. per county code, and the noise for years now has been much, much lower. So I don't see a compatibility there. The vast majority of that property line is not being developed. I know my next door neighbor Anderson commented, and just for the record, yes, she had 3 horses at one time. She has 1 right now, and she doesn't have any other livestock. That's actually the only livestock on the entire street out of the other 4 lots is her 1 horse right now. I do understand people are resistant to change, but ultimately, we have a massive housing shortage. We don't want to approve just any and every project. We want projects that are going to give back and do good things for the community. And that's what I hope you'll see what we're accomplishing. I watched my own son pack up and move out of state because he couldn't afford to live here after college. And I don't want to see our kids have to leave because we don't have housing stock that can house them. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to point out when we're talking about connectivity, I am just secondary access to the housing development and the college next door, but I do have a flashing beacon crosswalk crossing Fairview, which will provide safe crossing across the street. When the project across the street, Roberts Ranch, was approved by the city, I actually tried to get an intersection, a signal intersection in there. And both the city and county engineers were opposed to that because there's going to be a signal at Cielo Vista Road when Gavelin and Dividend builds, and there's already a signal in Union. And they didn't want to bog down Fairview too much with too many signals. And with the signals, Ariel pointed out, 1 to the north, 1 to the south, there'll be breaks in the traffic when those signals turn red that'll allow those cars to get in and out. I think the size of Old Branch Road that came up, basically, probably the easiest way to envision is think Enterprise Road. The size of Enterprise Road that's been improved will be the size of Old Branch Road. It'll be a full county road. It won't be a 4-lane road, it'll be a 2-lane road. It'll be a full 2-lane road with what Ariel sidewalk curb gutters, the whole shooting match. So it'll provide safe crossing. If people in this subdivision want to go down to the Whale Park, which will be right across, they'll just use that flashing beacon crosswalk across Fairview and go right through Roberts Ranch to that. So there is a lot of interconnectivity.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to you, I'm getting old and things are slipping. How did the other development in the college get away from the state code where they have to have 2 points of egress and ingress? That's amazing to me that they could do that, and that somebody approved it is a little beyond amazing.
So Street D that you see is in there as their secondary access.
But That's
But
based on the assumption that this is approved. If it isn't approved, the college and the
Then-
housing development next to it are allowed one point of ingress and egress?
yes,
How
currently
is that
there's.
approved? State law, I thought, said they have to have 2 points.
This was approved as, several years ago, and before my time. I know that as part of that approval, when going through, that secondary access was added on during the approval process. I could do some a little more research to see exactly what the requirements were. My understanding is that it's based on like the number of houses and trips, and that like everything else gets adjusted, as each year. And so it might have been at that time it didn't necessarily require, but those requirements, as you know, get increased and through the years, and secondary access has become.
Because I'm thinking of the project that was recently approved on Enterprise, and they were forced to have 3 points. So it's just interesting to me that nothing's treated equally. Maybe the rules were different back then, but it seems kind of ridiculous that especially a college campus, along with the housing development, was allowed to do that. Dumbfounded.
I would have to go back and look at the record and look at what was required. I don't have those answers in front of me at this time,
Okay.
and because it was before my time.
Well, that's
I apologize. I
that's
don't have
part
those
of the reason
answers.
of having a workshop, so we can iron some of these things out, hopefully, before a public hearing.
But that is an existing specific plan that's been approved and going through their conditions of approval
Okay,
process.
thank you. Commissioner Scalioto, you have one last question before we get back to Commissioner Way's question.
Yeah, and this is just a general question. How many acre feet per acre per year is one home required? Does it take to keep one home with water for 1 year? How many acre feet does one house take for water? Does anybody have that answer?
Elaine, do you have the? Can you pull that up?
Yeah, let me find it. 1 second. I think the answer to that, hold on. I need to do a little bit of math to answer this question for you. The estimate we used in the EIR is about 0.43 acre feet per year per residence.
0.43 times 120 units, that's going to be 4.3, roughly 51 acre feet for the entire residential if it's 100.
That seems way too low to me. I don't know where she got those numbers, but that seems way too low to me. Because I know what I use in my house, I keep track of it.
Okay. Commissioner,
Just to speak to that a little bit, we did use those numbers based on the urban water management plan that covers this area. And that was the estimate that we pulled from that report.
thank you. I guess that answers the questions. Now, if we could finish with Mr. Way's question, whatever that was. Abraham has it.
Mr. Wait, was that in regards to the secondary high school?
I actually think my issues have been addressed at this point.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. We had a late comer to the workshop. Are there any other public comments?
I was just going to answer it. It depends on the size of your lot, right? Because most of your water is irrigation. So
Could you come up? Thank you.
water use is going to be mainly based on your irrigation. So it depends on the size of your lot.
Um,
I'm sure your lots are as much larger than these lots. That's all I'm trying to say. Sorry.
So the response was that it's based on the square footage of the lot, basically.
Yeah, most water usage is irrigation, so depending on the size of your lot, would depend on the acre feet per year of your use. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the general rule of thumb is 1 acre foot per house per year. That's a rule of thumb, is what it usually is.
I can't speak to that, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then it looks like all of our questions have been answered. And thank you all. And we'll see if we can work with that format a little better the next time around. Okay, so it is now 6:01, and the workshop is adjourned. Thank you all for attending and coming in person.
Thank you.
And we will see you back at 6:30 for the landfill expansion.
Well, irrigation systems can also